Hello once again. I'm Stephen Burns, and what I'd like to do is to go over some of the basic navigational tools in Photoshop CS5 Extended. And if you look at your tools bar here, you're going to see right below your vector tools a link or a button for your objects. And if you click and hold, we have a series of navigational commands to rotate your object, to rotate it on the roll, and to pan your object. 3D slide, which is basically moving your object into the Z space, and of course resizing your object. We have the same thing for the camera. Here we're navigating the camera, similar tools, same exact commands. On the other, we're navigating our object. Alright, let's take a look at the rotational tool. Now, just briefly, we're moving our objects in three-dimensional space. From left to right signifies our x-axis. Up and down signifies the y-axis, and going in and out is your z-depth or your z-axis. Now, the first tool I have accessed here is the rotational, and if I click and hold my mouse, it's going to rotate my object, and as you can see, CS5 Extended works really fast. It's really improved on the way that it handles memory, and it's not exactly an object with a whole lot of geometry, but nevertheless it has a nice texture on there, and of course texturing can slow down the process, and Adobe did a great job in improving how well your 3D objects, or how well your tools are responding to the 3D object. Now, in my rotational tool, I also have the roll tool. If I click on the roll tool and click and hold, it's going to rotate around the z-axis, which is the axis going in and out of your scene here. It's your depth. Now, I want to mention something real quick about shortcuts. If I hold the Alt or the Option key, if you're using a Macintosh, while I'm in the rotational tool, I should say, I will automatically get the roll tool. If I release the Alt or Option key, that would automatically take me back to the rotation. Now, right over in here, on the right hand side, you have the K command that will toggle through all of your tools. I'm going to hit the K several times, and as you can see, I can rotate through all of my tools. And normally what you would have is a Shift K. However, we have the option of not using the Shift key. If I go ahead and hit Control K to access my preferences, and we take a look at, now we have our 3D here, but let's go to your General tab, and right up in here it says use Shift key for the tool switch. Make sure you turn that off. Okay, once it's off, there you are, and you can just toggle through it very quickly with just the K command. Alright, so now we had the rotation, we did the roll. Let's go to the pan. The pan is basically panning our subject on either y-axis or the x-axis. So y, once again, is up and down, and x-axis is left to right. Let's hit the K key again, and now we have our Z depth. We're going in and out, moving the object in to the scene or back toward the camera or the viewer. And as you can see, Photoshop responds very well to how quickly it navigates the 3D object. Let's hit the K once again, and this allows me to resize my subject. All I'm doing is clicking and holding and moving to the right, and then, or to the left I should say, and as I move to the right, the object gets larger. It's better if you move diagonally. It's faster. Left to right, it's a little slower response, and if you go diagonal to the bottom left or to the bottom right, you get much quicker response. Alright, so let's just play with the navigational tools for the camera. Now, as I rotate my mouse, or click and hold and push my mouse to the left, you see that the object is moving in the opposite direction. So if you notice that your object is moving in an opposite direction from the direction that you're actually moving your mouse, that means you are possibly in the camera rotational tool and not the object. And I'm going to just demonstrate this one last time. Go to the object command, rotation command, and if I take my mouse and click and hold and pull it to the left, it will rotate to the left and the right. It will actually move in the direction of my mouse. If we're going to the camera view, it goes in the opposite direction because we're moving the camera and not the subject. So you're going to see it move in the opposite direction. And let's go to our roll, and the same shortcut applies here. If I'm in my rotational tool, hold down the Alt or Option. If I pull my mouse to the left, instead of rotating to the left, it rotates in the opposite direction because we are navigating the camera. Let's go to the Pan tool. I'm going to click and hold and pan to the left, and then to the right is moving once again in opposite directions. And because we're going to share a little bit later on as to why we would want to navigate the camera instead of the object. Here is our 3D our Z depth tool. In and out is the same way. And if we go to now this is kind of nice here. It's called the 3D zoom tool, which is basically your focal length. Once it's selected, look at your options bar. Right up in here you have in millimeters and lens, or degrees, in horizontal or vertical options here. So if I take my camera and say I want this to be a 30 millimeter camera and select it, obviously your image is going to get further away because we have a much wider focal length. Now all I need to do is take the camera itself and just move it toward the furniture, and you'll start to see that the furniture starts to distort a little bit to reflect that of a 30 millimeter focal length lens. Alright, so let's go back to our zoom length, our zoom, and instead of 30, I tell you what, why don't we go to like 100 millimeters, and it's going to zoom in very, very close. So now you can either take the camera or the object itself, but we're going to do the camera, and pull it back a little bit just so we can see the object. Alright, so now I'm going to go over here to the object, and I'll find this a much more easier to basically navigate it this way. Now that you have a basic feel for navigating your subject, what we're going to do next is explore the merging of 3D layers and the use of depth of field.